Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. If you got the opportunity to, please mute yourself just so we're not getting any background fuffle and all of that. I want you all focused on me. So I'm going to focus in on Canva because that's my thing. Paul is trying to get me to sort of run with hashtag Canva girl. You can call me other names as well, like Marie-Louise ML. But so yeah, so we've had quite a few business bulletins, so covering things like specifically to marketing. We've had social media and other things like that. So there will be some crossover, but they'll be important and hopefully be a good reminder. So I'm going to share my screen. I've already got Canva up and running, and hopefully you can see that all okay. If you could give me a thumbs up. Excellent, thank you. Right, so Canva, if you're not aware, is a free and paid for sort of design tool. You've got all sorts of templates on there. In the pro version, which is still pretty cheap, I can't remember how much it is. I think it's like equivalent to sort of £11 a month or something. I think it's in dollars, but there's some extra features there. But even if you don't want to spend any money, the free one's got lots of great things in there. And this is a really great tool if you're trying to do stuff yourself. You know, particularly now, we're all trying to cut costs and make things more cost effective. And whether you like it or not, some people are, you know, you're having to get on with it yourself. So in Canva, you've got templates for things like flyers, presentations, you've got social media stuff, anything you can think of, there's probably a template in there. Now, I'm going to touch on a few things within Canva or sort of design principles, branding principles, and that is being consistent. So it's all very well if you sort of discover Canva, start using it, and you start using one design and then another design. You think, yay, it's great. It's been professionally designed by the team at Canva, so it must be good. It's only good if you are bringing in your branding into it and that you're being consistent with your colours, your fonts that you use, making sure you've got your logo on there if it's required. And if you're using all of that, then that's great. So Canva's just a tool. It's not going to do everything for you. So you're going to have to use a little bit of brain power behind it as well. So hopefully you can see from this page that this is my suite of Canva stuff. And there's a consistency with the colours that I've used, using my logo, fonts. I have done some development in there. And but you can see that there's a bit of a theme going on. So this is something that you would want to be building over time. Now I can see that there's some little chat things come up, so I'll just check.
So I'll monitor the chat, ML, and let you know. Okay,
fine. Well, what we're going to do is do a little bit of I'm sort of talking you through the Canva bit, and then we've got some time at the end to do some Q&A. So I'll leave that at the end. Okay, so first port of call when you join Canva is head over to the brand kit bit, and this is really important for you to be able to make sure that you're using your colours, and in the free version you can set up to 3 colours in there, and you're doing something using something called I think these are called hex colours. So if you don't know what the colours are, you can either speak to me and I can find out what that is for you. There are colour picker tools online which can tell you what your colours are. There's even, I think, a plugin for Chrome where you can kind of pick out what the colour is if you don't know what it is. So you want to plug that in there so that you can make sure that anything you're designing, any template that you're using, you're making sure that you're colouring them up to your brand colours. You can add up your logo in, but only if you've got the pro version. I've got the pro version here, and in the pro version you can also upload your own fonts. Canva's got lots of free fonts, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just pick a font that fits with your brand styling if you haven't got the exact one there. So So yeah, so another interesting feature is Canva has introduced sort of quite a lot of tools helping people around the sort of informing about the coronavirus. So there's been stuff about I guess sort of keeping in touch with people, if you're needing to create sort of public information posters and stuff. There's been some really interesting stuff there. So I think if you type in, so there's like coronavirus Facebook posts if you wanted. So there's a whole host there. So some of these have got a kind of a bit of a vintage vibe to them. Sorry, did someone say something? And there are other ones there that you could use. There's even a sort of like some kind of different cutesy ones. So if you want it, if it was appropriate for your business to do something like that, then you could certainly bring that in. But I think something that's been covered by other people is that you wouldn't want to, you need to be careful that you're not putting misinformation out there. So only talk about that in your social marketing and stuff like that if it's relevant. So I just wanted to just check, has anyone got any questions right now before I move on?
Yeah, Nadine's got a question. Do you want to ask your question, Nadine? If you want to mute yourself first. Not sure whether she's speaking or not. You need to unmute yourself, Nadine. No,
yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Hi, I was looking for a mute button. Hi, Marie-Louise. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Just a quick question when you're back on the brand kit. Can you have different clients set up for the fonts and things, for the colours?
So when you've got the Pro, you can create new palettes. So you could have the Pro version. So if you're doing kind of client work, you could create separate brand palettes. And I guess you would be able to upload other fonts as well, but you wouldn't be able to sort of say, okay, those fonts are being used for that particular client. I don't think it's as clever as that, but you can at least make sure that you've got the different palettes. You can name them for different things as well. So you can do all sorts with that within the same Canva account.
Okay.
But
So
in the free one, you've only got access to one palette, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to just do a find a particular, see what one sort of draws my eye, and I'm going to then brand it up as if, you know, it was something that I was going to use. So I can talk you through sort of some of the features as I go, because I think it's always useful to have it in situ. So you've got things like Instagram stories. You can do like presentations instead of using PowerPoint if you wanted to. You can even create a little card. So I think we're a little bit past having Easter cards, but there's been a lot of rainbow pictures about, so I'm interested to see what got stuff out there. So here's quite a nice one. This is something that I've been thinking about doing myself, possibly if I get around to it, and is creating some postcards that I could send out to like past clients or friends and family as just a nice thing. So you could do this as a branded thing. So like at Christmas time, you can have like corporate Christmas cards with your branding on it. So why not have something where you're sharing a bit of cheer? So this could be something that is as a social media post, but it could be something that you could get printed and post to people. So if I'm wanting to make this lovely evolution branded, so I have clicked on the background there, and then I click on the color palette, and hopefully you can see here it says lovely brand colors. So I've already set up my brand colors in the brand kit, so it shows me there. It also shows the document colors there. So in this case, I feel like the background is quite a similar color to one of my brand colors. I'm going to change it to that. I'm going to change the colors of the text and make that the navy is part of my brand colors. this is a group of text here, so I need to make sure I click on both, and that one, and I think I might, and this rainbow graphic here, you can change the colours. So in the elements bar, you've got access to all sorts of illustrations and pictures. So you could add all sorts to it and kind of create a whole picture. In fact, over the Easter weekend, I showed my son Jensen, who's 5, Canva, and together side by side, we created this sort of spot the Easter eggs. So he was sort of bossing me about for once, going, move that here, and we created this sort of like woodland kind of picture with it. So you can add all sorts of stuff. There's also stickers and things. There's some moving graphics and things. Again, some of it is limited to pro version only. So I could, for example, go, okay, well, I'd quite like to add a bird there. So this bird here, if you hover over it, it's got a little crown and it says Pro. So that bird is only available for free if you've got the Pro version. There's plenty of free things. So if I was like, right, I'm really keen on having a bird, you can just literally type in the elements bar, bird, and all these birds come up, so you can sort of see what you like. Some of them you'll be able to change the colours, so you could make them in your brand or make sure it fits with your composition. And some of them are free, some of them are not. So for example, this one, when I hover it over, it says it's free. And I think in a way I quite like that one more than that one. So I could put that somewhere, not sure where. Could be sitting on top of there. So so you would adjust the brand colours. I think I'm going to change the that kind of greeny dark colour there to being my navy blue again, so it's sort of fitting in. And slowly as I sort of go, it will bring it so that it brings it in line with my colours. The next thing I'm going to change is my fonts. So I personally use a font called Montserrat. I might use Montserrat Extra Bold, and I'm going to bring that out. Might make that a bit smaller as well. And I'm going to make sure that so that is already in Montserrat. So here there's a little bit of contrast between the sort of more medium size font there and then the very bold. So from just as a general best practice, make sure that there is either there's a sort of similar family or there's a contrast. And that should be already in Montserrat. So what I could do is bring in my logo. So in the free version, you've got access to being able to upload all your photos, logos and stuff like that. You can also, I'm trying to think where, because I've uploaded my logo as an element, can't remember where it is because I'm so used to using it as an upload. Never mind. I've got it there, so I'm going to pop it in here. And I can put it kind of more at the bottom, so it's there. And then another sort of point to remember is that you want to make sure that your that anything that you do, that it's legible. So I'm now realizing, since adding in my logo, that that's not fitting in. So I could make a duplicate of this page by pressing copy page at the top. There's just a little feature there. When you hover over things, it will pop up with what you're doing with that. So what I could do is maybe take my other version of my logo. Oh, it's popped it in that one. And I could have it sitting on the cloud over here. So that's going to sort of work kind of okay there. I'd maybe adjust it a bit more, maybe take that away. I could move that down there. I could put my name there as well. So you could have a little play around with it, or if I wanted to make sure that it was, that I preferred that composition slightly more, what I could do is pick a slightly darker colour for the sky, so I could maybe see what that looks like. I'm not sure that I like that. So it's looking at how can you make that work. Another option is if I really wanted it to be over on that side, is I like to make duplicates. If I'm playing around with things, rather than doing things and then go, oh, actually I like that older version, just copy that page within it, and then you can have a little play if you're sort of like, oh, I'm going to go off on that tangent and try something. So if I bring that back over here and move that up, because you're always trying to think about what the balance is. So this rainbow kind of feature and the clouds, because it's got some dotted lines on it, I'm like pointing at the screen, you can't really see that, like, it's a group of objects, because you can also see at the top it's got an ungroup feature. So if I ungroup them, and the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm going to copy these clouds and bring that over, and I'm going to flip it so it's not looking exactly the same as the other one. And I'm probably going to, and then what you can do is in Canva, there's a sort of layering of the objects. So you can decide if something sits at the top or at the bottom. It's similar to, I guess, sort of PowerPoint. You can kind of layer things a little bit. You can send stuff to back. So you click on position, and I'm going to click backward. And I'm going to keep clicking backward until my logo sits on top. And with design, a lot of it is just, good design is about making things line up, having a balance. We just want to make sure that everything sort of looks nicely, that there's a bit of breathing space behind it. I could maybe make, move that over a little bit. I could maybe make that a bit smaller. So you're trying to get a bit of variety there.
Marie-Louise,
yeah.
Calpesh has got a question.
Okay.
Calpesh, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Absolutely. AML. I was just going to ask, you know, your logo on the bottom right?
Yes.
If you wanted to then say all of a sudden either invert the colours or match that to the red in the rainbow, could you do that quickly?
Not in Canva, because
okay.
It's not as clever as that. So you would have to create versions of your logo in something like Photoshop, and then bring that in as a PNG file. So I could do that, but you can't do that within Canva.
This composition.
No, not as directly as that. You can do this where you can add a filter to it.
Okay.
So you could, I could make that black and white by applying a filter. I can also adjust the colours of it a little bit by clicking adjust, and you go to tint. So I could change it, but it's not as clever as being able to being able to match the colours. And that using the filters and the adjustment is something I'd more do with like a photo rather than a logo or illustration.
Okay, thanks, Emma.
That's all right. So yeah, so you can, as you can see, you could change the colour a bit, but you don't have a massive amount of control, and you don't really want to be like messy about with your logo too much, because you would have had that you know, already created. So ideally, you know, it's great if your logo has got a version where it's white out or inverted, as Calpesh said, because then you can use it in different ways. So I do have somewhere a logo where it is all white out, or certainly I could very quickly go away and make sure that I can do that, or you can speak to your designer who's created your logo and make sure that they supply that. So yeah, so you can see that those sort of little small differences means that I can create something that is branded. It's a nice sort of keeping in touch with someone. This could make a good social media post, or you could size it so that it was at the top of a email newsletter kind of heading. You can use it in all sorts of ways, or even just attach it as a direct message to someone on like Facebook or LinkedIn, and just, you know, hey, I'm thinking about you. So yeah, So I think that's kind of it as a sort of a bit of a whistle-stop tour of some of the key things that I think is really important with Canva and particularly branding. Just to summarise, I'd say keep it consistent. So as I showed you on here as to kind of my overview of designs, you're wanting to make sure you're consistent with your fonts, your colours, and maybe styles of photography, things like that. It doesn't all have to be exactly the same, but you want it to look like it's part of the same family. Keep in mind your target market, you know, who are you talking to, what's the purpose of what you're creating. So for example, this sort of rainbow thing, you know, it's a bit more fun, it's a bit fluffier, it's maybe less corporate because of the purpose of what I might use that for. Whereas if I was creating something that was more informational, it would look quite different, for example. And don't get carried away with the templates and the fonts and things. It comes back to the thing that I keep banging on about, being consistent, because yes, there's lots of great designs in Canva and it can be a bit overwhelming, but just because it's a nice font doesn't mean it's a nice font or appropriate for your brand or what you're doing. So it comes back to keeping in mind what you're doing with that design piece, you know, what's it for, what are you trying to achieve with it, and who are you aiming it to, because that will then it will lead how your design looks.
Russell's got a question. Russell, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, if I make the technology work again. Hi, Marie-Louise.
Hello.
I was just wondering, can I change the size of the image? Because sometimes if I try and put a banner up on Facebook or LinkedIn or something, I get this massive, great big image come up and I can't get all of the logo fitted onto the header. Is there
So
a way
you're talking about a Facebook header, for example?
Yeah. Is there a way of changing the image size so that my logo can fit onto the Facebook header?
Yeah, so it's with Facebook. So there is a Facebook header template on here, but last time I looked at it, I don't know if it was correct. Facebook header template. So that looks about right there, that one. So what you need to keep in mind is that on a desktop, your Facebook header is, like, for your page, is going to look quite different to a mobile. So on your desktop, it's actually going to chop off a little bit of the top and the bottom because it's slightly more landscape. Whereas on a mobile, it's kind of slightly more squat, I suppose. It just like marginally. So you want to make sure that anything of importance, like your logo, I mean, it's really, as a sort of design basic, it's really attempting to be like, I'm gonna make my logo as big as possible. I'm just gonna fill the screen so you can see it from space, and that's not the way to go. You want to be able to have it so it's maybe like in the middle there, and so it just means that it's less likely to be chopped off top and bottom. And unfortunately, Facebook hasn't made it easy for us, because an event cover image, a group cover image, and a Facebook business page cover image, and your personal cover image, they're all slightly different sizes. They look different on different devices. Believe me, I've had like major headaches trying to get things working. And I have created some sizes that have worked for me through trial and error, and it's just a case of doing it, uploading it, see if it works. If it doesn't, try again until you get it right.
Okay, cool, thank you.
ML, did you show the transparency feature? I can't remember whether you covered that. That's quite a useful tool if you put it.
No, I didn't show that. I can go back to my little thing here. So I'll just make a little duplicate. So a feature that I particularly love is you can make, I think, pretty much any object or image or text semi-transparent. So that is just, you click on an image. So for example, if I'm like, okay, I want to make the clouds look a bit more wispy and see-through, you click on this icon at the top, which looks a little bit like a racing flag. and then you can either toggle the adjustment there, or if you know a specific, like how much you want, like 50% or something, you can do it there. So I'll just show you again on the bigger one. So that's quite good if you want to soften something. So in the context of a design, let's pick that one. And it thinks about it. So if I use that template, and I picked this one because it's got quite a big image. In fact, they've used that feature. It's quite subtle there, but it's already, if I zoom into it a bit. So can you see it? They have actually used that transparency there. So that's quite nice if you want to be able to sort of have some text over an image, but you need to make sure that it's really, you know, it's still legible. So you can make that a bit more transparent, for example, to the point that you're happy with it. So are there any other questions?
Yeah, there's Andy Sarson has got his hand up, and there's a question from Curtis. So Andy,
okay, go for it.
Mute yourself. There you go.
Hi, Marie-Louise. Just a quick question. There is a fairly new thing that they added on Canva that could make the background of your photograph transparent, or you get rid of the background.
That's right. Yeah, so that's something that I've had a play with actually. That's only available in the Pro version. So it's something that I've done using, it works really well if you've got like a headshot picture, and it's something that I've used. So for example, on these ones, so if I take this one for example, I did a little training on it actually and went, ooh, it's like magic. So if I duplicate this one for example, so what you do is you click, I think, effects, and then it's now got a background remover. So I'm going to click on it. In fact, I'll make it even bigger just so you can see the magic. Right, are you ready?
Da, da, da.
It can take a little while. Still thinking.
Maybe it's trying to remove you as well.
Maybe. There we go. Oh,
did a bit of fun there.
It kind of did it and then didn't do it.
Yeah. Strange.
Oh, now it's done it. So yeah, it takes a little bit of a while. So you can see magic. You're all like shocked and stunned.
Yeah, I just thought that might be a useful tool for everybody to know about.
Yeah, just be careful that you don't get too carried away using it. But it is a very useful tool, definitely. And I was very impressed with the quality of it, actually. I mean, it's helped by that it had a pretty plain background on it. But yeah, no, I was quite impressed with that.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Curtie's got a question for you, ML.
Okay.
I was just going to say, is it good practice to use a font which you've used for other marketing? So, for example, a font which you might have used for your website for consistency purposes?
Yes, definitely. So, where possible, what you've got on your website and sort of stuff that you're using on social media, any sort of pop-up banners or business cards, ideally they should be the same font and colours and have a similar look and feel. I wouldn't worry too much if you can't get the exact font, if you're using stuff, if you're creating something or recreating something in Canva and you don't have the exact font or you don't know what the font is, pick something that's very similar that works well with what you've got. But ideally, yes, it should be, in an ideal world, it will be the same font.
Okay, thank you.
James thinks he's got a daft question, but it's actually quite a good one. So, James, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah. Hi, Marie-Louise. I'm quite new to this. I'm not a creative person generally, but something I have sort of done are things like blogs or whatever, newsletters. And I see you can design some fantastic print work here. I'm assuming it's possible in some way to cut and paste text onto Canva, so you can write it in Word, edit, etc., or to type directly into Canva if needs be to put together a blog or a newsletter, is it?
So I probably wouldn't create a whole blog or newsletter and try and fit all the text in it. You could certainly create a blog, like header image, and that kind of thing, or you know, in your newsletter, like I've created stuff in Canva and then inserted it in my MailChimp newsletter and created sort of assets in that way. But I would still use, because you also, it just means that if it's a big image that you're then sending to people, there could be issues with readability. You know, things like MailChimp has got the option of making it HTML and, you know, like more accessible for people with like visibility, or whatever the technical term is. So I probably wouldn't try and put your whole blog into it. I would keep it to maybe make it like your title, or think of it
Front
as your
page sort of thing.
front page, yeah. But there are things like, I think if I type in blog into there's blog templates. So there's even some tools of how to write your blog. So there's a blog writing prompt. There's when I was coming with blog banners, so I guess that would be the kind of main thing. So you could use that for your LinkedIn articles, because that's basically a blog. In Facebook, you've got a I think it's called like a notes feature, which is basically like you can upload like a little cover image for that, and that's like an article or blog. So yeah, so you could create that for that, but I wouldn't put all your text in it.
If you were going to do like a PDF magazine though, you could probably use Canva for that, couldn't you?
Yeah, so if you wanted to create, so if I type in newsletter, there'll probably be stuff. Yeah, there's a whole load of more like magazine-y style stuff. So if you're creating something that's a multi-page document, which you can do, as Paul said, you can download it as a PDF, because there's different file types that you can do. And with something like a newsletter, it would prompt you to download it as a PDF and have those multiple pages. So if I click on this one, just for example, you can kind of get a sense of the types of things there. So with something like that, it's got multiple pages. You can number the pages, you can add page titles. You can also change the template within there. And if you're downloading it, you've got the feature, this is where you've got the option, you can download it as a PDF for print. And if you are printing it out professionally at a printers like Braunston Print, for example, or others are available, you can click the crop mark and bleed and make sure, and that will make sure that anything like that, which is like the palm tree thing that is coming off, that it has something called bleed. I won't start rambling on about kind of too much techie stuff like that. But you can download it as a JPEG, you could download it as a PNG file. So if you're doing it for, if it was one of the, so for example, for this, if this was a social media thing, I would suggest downloading it either as a PNG, which it suggests, or a JPEG. Either one will work. There is sort of other kind of techie things that I could go into, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you're doing it for print or as an attachment, so you could do it, if it was an attachment to an email, I'd probably do PDF standard, because it says here small size, and it can also be a multi-page document. So Canva does try and make it easy for the average pleb to use. But any questions, you're welcome to like join my lovely Canva crew, which is a Facebook group, free Facebook group, and you can ask me all the stupid questions you want, because there's no such thing.
Okay.
Any other questions, stupid or otherwise?
Yeah, does anybody have any other questions, or maybe something you're struggling with on Canva at the moment you'd like to pick Marie-Louise's brains while she's here? Nothing.
Oh, I've blown everyone away.
Yeah. It was you removing the background from that photograph. They're still stunned.
Yeah, Look at that.
So-
there we go.
So I've and Susan St. Moore likes the necklace in that photo.
Oh, thank you.
Kalpesh says that's amazing. I'm not sure whether he means you or removing the background or both.
Both, I'm sure, both. Yeah. If only I woke up looking like
Both.
this. I actually bothered to put a bit of makeup on this afternoon. You
You
feel
spoil-
honoured.
You spoil us.
I know.
Okay, so unless there's nothing else, thanks ML for sharing your knowledge. I've posted the link to the Canva crew Facebook page, so if you want to go and join that group, she may let you in if she's feeling in a good mood.